Uh, so, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to host you at at this amazing conversation that we're about to have with Aditya. And Aditya, I've been looking forward to this conversation, right? I think for all the good work that you were doing at Artment, right, has been absolutely spectacular. Right? I mean, this is a space that I think has become very interesting in the last 2.5 years. It was always interesting, right? But I think the dichotomy that existed across markets. We never saw a very consistent growth. While there were brands that were getting built in the process and so on and so forth, right? Furniture brands, of course, we've seen a massive shift, right? But when it came to decor, it was still a very fragmented market, right? 2 years, and the world moving online, I think has been a very good transition of people buying from a digital environment, right? And I think the other thing is that the infrastructure has sort of come together, right? Returns, for example, have become just so much more easy from a consumer standpoint. And I think that inhibition is gone. That makes this conversation very interesting. And what excites me particularly is that this is a very creative domain, right? With all of this exposure that the consumers have today, right? Because they're consuming more and more content, that creativity is they become more sensible in their creative sense, in a creative sense, right? Which essentially means that brands which will focus more on creativity will have a very strong moat in a relationship over a period of time, right? And I think that's essentially what you're emphasizing on. All of this put together makes it a very interesting conversation, right? I think before we start doing that, I'd love to talk a little about if you could introduce yourself and the team at Artment. I think that'll be a great start to the conversation.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Ashu. It's great to be part of this conversation. If I talk about myself, I'm a business economist graduate from Delhi University. I've been doing e-commerce since year 2013. When Amazon first came to India, I was among the first 100 sellers registered and started selling on the platform. So it has been 9-10 years now since I've been selling stuff online. Artment we started in 2019 because we saw a wide space in this category. We saw there is a market leader in personal care. We saw a market leader in consumer electronics. But home as a category, we didn't see any one brand that says, okay, I'm the home brand of India where you can find everything. There are a lot of marketplaces like Pepperfry, but there's no one private label brand that tells a story across its products. So we saw blank space there, and we decided to start a brand in this area. Artment was started with two major solutions, keeping in mind. First, there is an entire industry in our category called interior designers who help you choose a product to buy. People don't really know what to set up their house, how to decorate it, the products, with its products. So we focus heavily, like you said, on content marketing. And if you go to our product pages right now, we have allocated each and every piece to a different art form. And we talk about this art form. Let's say you buy a Bohemian lamp from us. We'll tell you why this is Bohemian, what is Bohemian exactly, and how you can set up your house in a Bohemian way. And then we upsell you, you can buy a Bohemian wall decor with it. So that's how we try to tell a story through our products. This categorizing our products into different art form has also really helped us to understand consumer taste and preferences. Like some insights, like in dinnerware, people really like floral design. So Victorian is a art form that really works for us in dinnerware. So we take these cues to develop more products and designs according to customers' taste and preferences. Secondly, we wanted to be a destination online because people trust Amazon. They know the buying experience will be seamless. If you don't like anything, you can return it easily. But the problem with Amazon is it's the same generic old design. The algorithm pushes the products that are being sold the most. And what is being sold the most are same Buddhas, Ganeshas that people have been buying to decorate their houses in the last 20 years. I'm sure when you were a child, you had the same products that you had at your house, and you go to Amazon, you'll find the same products there. So the entire problem of discoverability came up. So we wanted to be a one-stop destination where you find fresh designs. You don't have to go through those Buddhas and Ganeshas all the time, and you can really trust us with the quality. And if you don't like it, we want to offer you seamless experience like Amazon. So these two problems we looked at, and we started Artment in 19. We talked about supply chain earlier. We were made in China. I was living in China before the COVID and sending products from there. COVID happened. Right. Entire supply chain got destroyed. We were at zero revenue. But this was so a very pivotal point for us where we started working towards setting up an Indian supply chain. So right now we're at a point where 80% of our products are made in India. In fact, we have started manufacturing and designing one of the categories. We have a small manufacturing in-house where we make dyes and whatever designed as well for us. We give those dyes to a bigger third-party manufacturer. So interesting. Integrated from ads to design, and trying to set up a fast fashion supply chain where our feedbacks from our CTRs, from our ads really go into the creation of those designs, and entire process happen in 10 days. So we have a collection called Weekly New Arrivals where we launch new products every week because of this integrated supply chain that we were able to build.
Very interesting. No, I think a bunch of very interesting points that you kind of highlighted, right? Now, when I look at this entire space of decor, right, while you, of course, you kind of build in this methodology, right, of churning out new products every 10 days, right? Uh, what I want to understand, I want to take a step back, right? I want to understand, how has this space kind of evolved, right? Of course, we've seen this transformation that has happened, right? Now, I buy your argument when you say that, for example, Amazon continues to push their algos, continue to push, products getting bought, right? But
Yeah.
that's largely because the Indian market complexity, right? Now, when you're a brand, when you're building a brand, right? I mean, the intent is to cater to the masses, right? The masses continue to be still there, and that's largely because the market is very, very divided, right? Um, you know, uh, when you are out there creating newer tastes, newer versions, right? While I appreciate it, right, as a consumer,
Mhm.
from a business standpoint, that also is a place where you're running a lot of risk, right? Because inventory overhang is the biggest of all problems when you look at the core market, right? And we have the cultural complexities as well, right? There are safer bets, right?
Mhm.
That could be at price level, could be fast moving, right?
Mhm.
You've chosen a completely contrarian approach, right? You're building a lot of this from scratch. The other thing is when I'm looking at AOVs, right? These AOVs are at 2,600 rupees in your case, right? That essentially means, and I could be completely wrong, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, right, on this one. Is that people are not coming in, they're possibly picking bits and pieces, right? And they're not completely buying, say, a certain setup that you're putting together. All of this put together, right, is a fairly complex sort of play, right? From a scale standpoint, right? How do you look at it?
Sure. So if I talk about creation of new design, so what happens on Amazon is almost 80% of the sales comes from the top 5 listings or the first product page. And this has been snowballing in design, like all those generic designs that came first to the platform are being selling most because people, it's a very less percentage of traffic goes to the second or third page. So they're not able to discover these designs. As a result, they still buy those generic designs that are available. So that actually is an advantage for us because we're not taking the safer bet. We are actually bringing newness to the market. And what as per our feedbacks from the customer, people really want new design. That is the core problem that exists. And anywhere you go, and we talk to a lot of customers. So we talk almost to 20 to 30 customers every week. I personally call them and talk to them. That is a major pain point that no everyone is have this problem of not finding good designs. And if the brands that are offering good designs are targeting super luxury audience where the ASP is around 5,000, 6,000. So either you pay a lot or either you stick to the old designs, which Amazon has to offer because of its algorithm, and it comes on the first page, trickles down to second page, and you have to really dig deep into the catalog. So I would say it's actually it's much safer because some point the saturation will come up and people just stop buying those generic designs. And the entire way we have set up our supply chain where we get to churn a lot of new designs every week and learn from the feedbacks and launch new products. So that is really helping us to really understand the customer preferences and selecting the right subcategories.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Does that take you to being slightly more bespoke, right, or closer to being bespoke, right? Because of a lot of this feedback that you take, right, and the fortunate unfortunate part is, right, and I'd love to discuss a little more about the demographics, right?
Mhm.
Possibly you can highlight this as part of your answer, right? Is that when you're taking this feedback, right, this feedback might be true for some people, right? This feedback might be true for people coming from urban areas, right?
Sure.
And not necessarily say true for somebody who's coming from say, an Indore or a Kanpur, right? Or down south, some of the non-metros. Or do you kind of balance it out, saying that you're gonna have feedback from here and you're gonna have feedback from there? You kind of get to a point of harmony, and then from there, product development starts, right? What's the journey like? I'd love to.
So if I talk about a catalog, so still 20% of our top 20% gives us the 80% of the sales. So our
Mhm.
catalog follows the same basic principle of any consumer brand out there. There are 20% winners that gives us the 80% sales. And our target is to really, collect as much feedback and find those next
Sure.
20%, those winners.
Mhm.
So it's really the feedback that works all across the geographies. In fact, I would say feedback also works cross border. The same designs will also works really well for us in the US market. We are live
Sure.
on the Amazon.com portal. So talking about state level differences in design and taste preferences, we have not seen a much of a variance there because
Mhm.
what one design that you see some people in South like, we've seen everyone liking that all across the
Sure.
board. And and that's basically a strategy right now where we're just turning on feedback, getting those feedbacks and finding those top 20% of our SKUs and updating the list every month. Talking about the second part of the question in the
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 demographic.
content, yeah. So we are seeing average for when there's a first time buy from a customer, people are coming back and buying a smaller piece, let's say a barware product, a 799 product, and they really experience the brand, and when they're satisfied with the products, they really come back and buy. The second cart order value is around 4,000 rupees. The first order AOV is around 2,200 rupees. So we see
Sure.
really that jump in the average order value when a customer is coming back, and we have 28% of these customers of our 82,000 customer list that have come back in the last 3 years and bought again from us.
Interesting.
So that also gives a lot of confidence, building up that longer, long-term customer value and offering them more products and really satisfying the needs that are out there in the market.
Okay, super. I'm going to talk a little about competition, right? Now there are, I want to cut competition in two forms, right? Two ways basically, right? Now one is that in India we have a massive cottage industry, right? When it comes to a lot of these products that you, for example, offering, right? Now typically what happens is, there are great brands and good brands, right? They have a creative ethos, right? So they do essentially what you do, right? Take a lot of feedback, look at what's happening in the market, right? Slightly look into the future or what possibly can be consumed, put it together in design and then and push it out, right, for consumers to buy. Now, essentially what happens is, now while you put in all this effort, right, and while you put out the product, right, very quickly, if this is a product which is moving fast, right, typically there are a lot of organized unorganized competition which kind of takes cognizance of this, replicates that, right? So your abnormal profit zone, like student of economics, right, classically, is very, very short-lived, right? How do you what's your sense of that? That's part one of the question. Part two of the question is that there are a lot of other brands. For example, there's been a brand like Jaipur, for example, right? And there are many other brands, which started as focusing on one particular thing, and have essentially diversified now into being a full stack, right? So they're doing a lot of decor. There's a certain credibility that they've established. There's a lot more stronger visibility that they've established. That was largely because they were focused on doing one product. So there's a certain familiarity that they've built with a larger audience base, right? How do you look at some of this, right? Because essentially, the target market that you have, which is upwardly mobile, motivated, has the disposable income, has the exposure, right? Uh, all of these brands are essentially tackling and catering to the same audience. How is that fight like? I'd love to
So first of all, if I talk about copycats, definitely, a lot of clusters in India have taken note of us. We are among the top 10 decor brands already that
understand.
exist in the D2 space right now. And we see a lot of our products getting copied. And I feel that is a sort of a validation when someone is really copying your content.
Sure.
They're sort of developing and designing, doing marketing for you. People see the designs all over the board, especially our winners. And it's all about building that trust mode across the customers. Like I said, the first problem we saw was people just trust Amazon, and there's not one the destination where can people really know that if I pay online, I'll get the product in the right shape. If the product is broken, I'll get the replacement. So that trust factor, I feel, really differentiates us from the copycats out there, because once you experience Artment services, because we're essentially a luxury brand, more than product, we like to offer better services, better satisfaction to our customers that really will build a long-term LTV and more for us. So the entire services and service and the trust factor that we see will really help us against these copycats. And additionally, the supply chain that we have set up, just churning out designs regularly and finding those top 20% products every month is something that is not an easy task to do. And the people with some kind of, we have taken 3 years to establish the supply chain. And if someone wants to come in and design and copy our designs, have really a different mindset and not setting up ecosystem that like we have set up. And even if someone takes 3 years to set up, we'll be 3 years ahead and we'll be doing something better. So constant innovation and building up these bundle of modes every month or through service or through supply chain is really helping us. And I feel that's how being consistent really helps to build up a brand and trust among consumers. And that we're focusing on, and numbers are really reflecting it. From around 9% to 20% to 28%, we are repeat numbers have increased over the last 3 years. So that is something that we see our customers also valuing the service we're providing them, and the freshness of catalog and the innovation with the supply chain that we're providing them with. Secondly, if we talk about competition, definitely there are a lot of big brands in specific subcategories that have expanded out. Even if you talk about Wakefit, they start with mattresses. You go to Wakefit website, they're selling home decor products right now. So I feel there where the advantage lies, their focus is on their winning product, winning subcategory. And we started this this brand with the focus on home decor being the priority. We'll never do furnitures in our brand. We'll just stick to smaller home decor products, dining products, that everything that you require from your for your home except the furniture. So that and the innovative supply chains and all the processes we are setting up against, because our focus is just that particular category. Is really helping us out to beat these competitions, and not really looking them as a direct competition, but I would say an indirect competition, because their focus will always be towards some other subcategory of furniture category that we are focusing at.
Interesting. Aditya, now I'm going to talk a little about the channel sets, right? Now you essentially positioned as a B2C brand. When anybody was going to look at your deck, right? I think you've mentioned the channel sets, right? I'd love to understand what's the spread like, between your site and marketplaces that you list on. What's the sales percentages? How do they vary? That's number one. Number two, what I want to understand is that the very top of the decor market, right? Now, decor market is essentially very very experiential in nature. Traditionally, that's how it's been done, right? So when you look at brands like Decor and many others that have been there, right? Traditional brands that have been there, these are brands that have had a phenomenal experiential layer, right? They've had their franchising roots, or they've had their own stores where people can actually go out and experience, right? I mean, today when you look at Chumbak, right, which is a category leader, in this space, right, and has expanded into a variety of SKUs, home decor being a very critical and a large subset of the overall offering. Is now essentially taking the same route, right? Now, does that puts you to advantage? Of course, I'm minusing the 2 years, right? Because we're literally coming back. We're coming out of the woods, right? We're essentially coming back to being a touch-and field economy, which we always were. There's almost a revenge buying spree that people are on, right? They're going back to these malls and
Yeah,
sorts of things, right? What's your sense? How do you see that, right? And also possibly, is there an experiential layer that you're creating and thinking of creating in the process? I'd love you to reflect on.
sure. So, answering to the marketplace, the channel split, till last Diwali, we were 100% D2C brand, doing 100% of our sales from our own website. But then what we started noticing was people are actually, there was a very high search volume for a brand name on Amazon, because for them, we were really a new brand, and they were looking certain designs at our website, and they were trying to search if the product was available on Amazon or not, because they trust Amazon more than us for now. That is fair. So, post Diwali, we started selling on Amazon, and we started getting listed on Myntra and Nykaa, and it has been phenomenal. Since last 8 months, our entire sales channel split from zero to has risen to 35% from these marketplaces. So we're at 65% on website and 35% marketplaces, and we even make better EBITDA of these marketplaces, because we really don't need have to spend on the marketing. People already have an awareness through our D2C, and that really plays out through the omni-channel marketing that we're doing. So by coming Diwali, we are aiming a 50-50% split between marketplace and D2C, just to make sure the availability of the brand across all different channels, and really helping and really getting the maximum effort, maximum results of the performance marketing we are spending for a D2C channel. Talking about the experiential layer. So I feel home decor as a category was meant to be online first, because imagine you visiting a home decor store, you see 50 clocks on a wall, or you see 10 showpieces. Can you really imagine how that one showpiece will look like if it's kept at your house? And that's impossible in an offline environment, because the offline retailer will have to spend thousands and thousands, lakhs and lakhs to create these decor setups. But for us, you visit one product page, we'll show you in 3 different houses how that piece will look like against 5 different kinds of wall. And in fact, we'll tell you a story behind each and every piece. So I feel that digital first focus is really an advantage over the experiential layer these offline retailers and more traditional retailers have, because they're really trying to push a catalog of products on you, and you have to select from that big jungle of products that you visit a store and see. But with us, if you're selecting one product page, we're taking you the journey of that one product design, and how this product will actually look at your place. On the top of that, when you scroll down and you see the reviews of customers, how they have placed that product into different and a different setup, that really increases the conversion, and it really gives you an idea, if I buy this product, how it will look like at my house. So I feel being a digital first will always be our core strategy, because we feel this category is meant to be sold online, and maybe in the next 20-30 years, the online sales will take over the offline sales, because people just wanted extra content, there's extra validation before they make a high intent buy of a home decor, and see across the board how the product looks like, different setups and different customers houses.
Very interesting. Aditya, and I hear you, right? And I understand where you're coming from, and I think it makes a lot of business sense, right? When you're operating in a digital environment, right, it's just so much more controlled. You can communicate directly with your consumer, right? Even if there's no purchase, you can still go on to build some engagement, right? In the process, you can retarget the consumer, which I completely appreciate, right? I've been a buyer. I've bought for certain products for my house, the biggest of all problems is that when you're putting out that picture, for example, right? Which is that it's so difficult to get an assessment, right? How big is this, right? And a lot of occasions, a lot of these sellers, right? The way they kind of do it, it tends to increase the confusion, right? So I'm not saying whether you're doing a good job or not, but essentially the way it's put out and when you're comparing products, right? Typically in the marketplace and mostly in the marketplace, right? I think it you definitely get into a zone of confusion, right?
Mhm.
And my sense is that is a massive disincentive for somebody who's out there to to buy something, right? To buy that product, right? That transaction gets into almost like a perpetual, gets deferred, right? Which is not a great thing. Um, enough to understand, right? Anything else that you're doing on the distribution front of it, right? Are there newer place that you're looking at? Gifting, for example, is massive, right? When you talk about decor as a play, is that a channel that you have right now? Is that something that you're looking at? As like I said, markets open up. Of course, not the perfect conditions right now, but is that a space that you're looking at already? Something that you're doing? I don't know if you understand.
So essentially, there are two more channels that we're looking at right now, apart from our D2C and marketplaces. First is corporate gifting. We get a lot of corporate gifting inquiries from. We're even working with a lot of Silicon Valley companies who really liked our brand, and we have exported a lot of corporate gifting orders to
Sure,
them in the Western market. And once you get in panel as a vendor with these companies, you start getting regular corporate gifting contracts
right,
with them. So corporate gifting is something that we realized getting into the category after a few months, that okay, there's a big demand and people really want good branded and high quality products, and once they trust you entirely, that the buying team of the company will always come back to you and buy from you, because if you offer them a seamless experience. So we
sure.
definitely are looking to that channel, because that is adding some portion to the top line right now.
Mhm.
Second channel we're looking at as affiliate marketing through interior designers. So
Interesting.
a typical architect or interior designer firm does 5 to 6 houses every month.
Mhm.
And even if they buy, let's say, one clock from me every month, so that's almost 60 to 70 clocks a year per interior designer fixed sale for me that is coming. So we are
Sure.
developing a sort of affiliate dashboard where interior designers come, they sign up, and they see the price that's slashed that for them after their commission, and it variates with the monthly business that they do with us. So that the channel we're taking up very seriously, and we see a big amount of consistent sales through this affiliate networks coming to us in the near future.
Super, very interesting. You've literally walked into my next question, right? You mentioned of the US market, and how you're kind of doing that. Well, I look at the deck, which is of course available for everybody to look at on Tyke. That seems to be a very significant part of your strategy, right? While you're approaching it right now from a corporate gifting standpoint, right? What are your plans there? I mean, and in the course of the conversation, you mentioned that you're already listed on Amazon.com. How significant is that as part of your strategy? That's number one. Number two, slowly and steadily, the volumes from China are going to pick up, right? And that's while of course we see what we see, right, the quality that we see, right? China is still a home to some amazing products, right? And home decor continues to be one of the largest sort of areas, right? And not just for India but globally. What happens to the brand, right? The requirement of capital is going to be much, much different, much higher. How are you looking at this entire, you know, uh, this entire situation?
So one interesting thing happened with us was 3 months back we got into this accelerator program called Amazon Global Selling Propel. So Jeff
Sure.
Bezos essentially came to India 2 years back, and he had
Right.
this vision of doing $20 billion of sales on Amazon.com through Indian retailers. The main core focus was to remove their reliance from Chinese sellers. Almost 80% of
Sure.
Amazon.com is full of Chinese sellers.
Mhm.
So essentially Amazon do this program where they select 16 brands every year, and they really push them to start selling their products,
Sure.
give them insights. And there were brands like Soul Threads, Sleepy, all quite big funded brands that got through the
Sure.
program, and we got lucky enough to get through the program. And that really changed our strategy for the future.
Mhm.
Our eyes really wide open up of the kind of opportunity the US market has to offer.
Sure.
And India, if I talk about, has a very natural supply chain of home and decor products. We are one of the largest exporters of home textiles in the world. There's
Mhm.
almost $1 billion of home textile that our B2B exporters export to big box retailers like IKEA and Pottery Barn in the US.
Mhm.
So if we have the supply advantage, and we are an English speaking country, so we can make a better brand in the Western market than Chinese sellers, then this has to be a brand which connects the bigger Western market from this Indian supply chain. So we plan to become that using the natural Indian supply chain benefit, and the kind of workforce we have over here that can really understand the US market, and we speak the same language, so we can really build up a brand there, and that sorts of build gives us competitive advantage over the Chinese sellers. So we definitely see US becoming a major channel for us in the coming future. Like I mentioned, we've already launched and the response has been phenomenal. The top 10 designs that was sold we were selling here got sold out within a week in the US market, and we plan to send more shipments down the line. And the entire strategy, because home is as a category is very vast. We are not a personal care or a consumer electronic brand where we just have 20 SKUs. We have to have
Sure.
more SKUs, and that is the entire ammo that we have, that we offer you wide selection of fresh designs. So we are looking at, as a business model, we're looking at a distributor sort of a model where we have a reseller or sort of a brand franchise in the international market that we want to go into, who buys the stock for us and essentially engages all their working capital, and then we resell the products into the final consumer. And we have already identified such big resellers who have shown interest in the brand, and we are in talks to set up a reseller in the US market who will in turn sell on these marketplaces and do the direct B2C there.
Aditya, thank you for that one. Right, what are the next 2 years, like 2.5 years, like what are the targets?
Sorry, Ashu, I didn't get.
I'm saying, what are the next 2.5 years like? What are the milestones that you've set for yourself?
Sure. So we are essentially doing a pre-series A round here. We've already got some soft commitments, and we're expecting to close around by August end of somewhere between 1 to 1.5 million. And the next 2.5 years, we are looking to hit a 3 to 4 crores MRR, and essentially be a very inventory-led traditional D2C brand where we use most of the equity raised in a working capital for ads for our goods. Post that, we really want to become something what First Cry has done in the baby market, where they have sort of created private label brands for each category and have a distributor in place who takes care of their entire stock, and they have become very asset light. So essentially, they are just a brand and the product developer, and someone else is buying the products that they choose and selling, doing direct D2C. So we want to take that route because it won't be easy in our category to really have all the inventory on your books. So when you expand into multiple categories, so the next 2.5 years, the plan is to hit around 4 crores MRR and then become an asset light company by offloading the inventory to distributors across the country and internationally of different categories.
Interesting. I want to understand inventory over. And given the creativity, right, the nature of business that you are in, right, you'll have to, and I completely understand where you're coming from, right. The more diversity of options, the probability of purchase becomes higher, right, from a consumer. And because this is creative, you really don't know who's going to buy what, right? I mean, you can get closer to it, but I think in entirety you can never know. Like unlike say electronic hardware, right, where it just got very defined features that people are looking at, right. So there's a predictability, kind of, right? Here that's not really the case. Uh, Inventory overhang is something which is very critical. Now, when you talk of a large percentage of or reasonable percentage, I'm not saying I'm not going to. My apologies on that one, right? But a certain percentage of this money going into working capital requirements, right? What are the immediate thoughts on? Are you going to get into very limited production and fast churning? Sort of model, or we see a different strategy there, more products of the same category possibly, which we're not doing right now. That could be because of say limitation of working capital. What strategy do we see you deploying and employing?
So in terms of cataloging, our strategy is always to find those top 20% of the products. And that is the only reason we expand our catalog every week, so that we find new winners and that really, scales up the top line. So we want to go really deep into the top 20% winning SKUs that we have already identified and go horizontal by launching more designs and testing out and finding, we have certain parameters where we see if the order velocity is certain level, this is a A grade, or if order velocity hits a certain grade, it's a B grade product. And whenever it hits that hero level order velocity, we start going deep into those SKUs. So that is a typical strategy that we've been following since last 3 years, and it has really kept us very capital efficient. We just have around 20 days of inventory with us right now, and we like to maintain it down the line by horizontally, by scaling horizontally lightly, and just to test out the designs and go really hard when we identify certain winning SKU. Because what we see is if a design is a winner, it works across all the channels. If a design is a winner on my own website, I send 1,000 units to Amazon and Amazon sells it within a month. If a design is a winner, I send 2,000 pieces to a Myntra warehouse and they also sell it pretty quick. So the idea is to just keep on launching products and finding all these winning designs over the time.
Super. This is an absolutely spectacular session. Thank you for doing this. on a Friday evening, right? I think we couldn't have asked more. I have a bunch of questions, right? And then we're gonna open the floor for the listeners to ask you questions, any doubts, any kind of thing that they want in the process, right? The first question that has been sent to me is you're raising money for the second time on Tyke, right? Why are you doing that?
So we did a first round where we reached around 50 lakh. That was our initial plan. And in fact, we reached around 675 lakh of raise within the first 12 months. And we had to refund some amount back because our plan was just to raise 50 lakh and we ended up raising around 58 lakhs. We used this money to really scale up. And we thought, okay, this is a good source of raising capital without, diluting your equity holding. So we're doing this to really, stock up for the Diwali season. Every year we see the festive season where we run out of entire all inventory. So we really want to be more prepared by raising some extra capital and stock up the inventory to really make this Diwali a big winning event for us.
What are the other ways you're raising capital, right? I mean, of course, you're out there in the market raising equity, right? You're diluting yourself. You're doing a $2 million round. And you mentioned in the conversation that you have a few commitments, right?
Yeah.
But what are the other ways you are beefing yourself up? I mean, one becomes tight, right? What are the others? I mean, are you taking? Is there going to be some debt on the sheets? Are
Yeah.
you doing some revenue-based financing?
So
What's
recently we
happening?
have taken up revenue-based financing from Velocity, and
Mm-hmm.
that has really helped us to scale up month on month. And the expected we've done a small tranche with them and testing out the model because
Mm-hmm.
I was not really sure how it will play out. The monthly outflows that comes with it. So we're testing out. We've taken a small revenue-based financing, and essentially
Sure.
we are doing this pre-series A round. We have got commitments, and we're expecting to close the round by end of August.
Wonderful. Okay. Next question. Your global plans seem impressive. What's the primary difference between domestic market strategy compared to global expansion strategy that you have, right? I think what the the person intends to understand, right? What are your tax going to look like, right? Because US is an expensive market to sort of be in. How do you sort of what's your strategy there?
So typically, what in our pilot in the Amazon.com market, we just 2x all our MRPs that we're selling in India, and still we were very price competitive against the Chinese sellers and other
Mhm.
sellers out there in the market. So
Mhm.
we're simply marking up our MRPs that we're selling in India, and because there's a higher CAC, we're trying to maintain the same ratio that we are building up India and get that 15% CM2 level. So entire strategy is to counter those high CACs by high MRPs because the market is there to pay. They have that buying potential, and in fact, the competitor is itself is almost we're still price competitive against those other existing competition. So that is the strategy right now, and essentially just copy pasting our catalog, whatever winner, whatever design we have found out the winners here, we're just testing them out in that market, and it's working really well for us. So we've just launched 10 SKUs and we have more than 600 SKUs in our catalog right now. So one on one,
Mhm.
we're going to launch all those the winning SKUs there and expect growth rate, and then start learning from the market what is really selling, and then start developing products accordingly.
Wonderful. As the next question, what are the margins likely to be in the longer term? Now, it isn't defined, right? Whether longer term is possibly a year and a half, or 3 years, 5 years.
Sure.
I just suit yourself, right? In terms of how you want.
So right now we are at a 65% gross margin. Our product cost is around 35%, and we're spending around 45% on branding and acquisition. We're at a stage right now because we're just 3 year into this business. We're at an acquisition stage. We are spending a lot of our value to acquire a new customer and really build out the content and build out the brand. In the long term, let's say around 3 to 4 years, we are expecting this repeat customer of 28% to climbing more than 50%, and we just have to basically service our existing customer base. Where then we see this 45% marketing spend trickling down, and that in turn increasing our overall net profit substantially.
Interesting. Next question is, somebody's, I think, very, deeply looked into your numbers, right? They say they recover 2.3x their CAC
Yeah.
with the first order. Will this CAC remain even in the future? What's your set? And I think that's an interesting question, given that you have some of these household brands that are kind of picking up and they're making it expensive, right, as a space. What's your set?
So actually, we're recovering about 2.3x. We're spending around 800 to 900 rupees on ads, and we're acquiring one order that is the average order value is around 2200. So we are profitable right off the bat, and the entire strategy is to keep on spending the similar amount. Like I said in my last answer, on 45% of the entire value to acquire a new customer for the next 3-4 years, and reach the point where our repeat customers is more than our first time customers, and then start reducing on our spend, and that eventually increases the entire LTV eventually increases our entire margin structure, and essentially, keep continuing the same strategy unless we hit a critical mass where we don't have to spend. Essentially, we don't have to acquire a customer to, make a good margin out of the business.
So, Aditya, last question that I've received is okay. Again, a very open-ended question. When they may reach a saturation point?
I mean, so we as a brand were established to cover the entire home market. We are not just selling bed sheets, or we're not just selling wall decor. So we see certain categories that hit saturation point. Let's say you are selling statues or wall or a clock because you have a limited real estate at your house. But something like a dinner plate or something like a bar where you break it every year and you buy once a year, or bed sheet you buy once every Diwali. So we feel we are getting into these subcategories that is a repeat. That are repetitive in nature, and once we're at your house, you experience Artment, you like the design language, or let's say you've set up your house according to one of the art form that we recommend, you become a lifetime customer and you buy all your crockeries and all your the home textiles from us. So in that sense, we will never hit a saturation point. We like to keep on servicing our customers back to back.
I think, Aditya, what the person who's asked this question essentially meant was that there's something called a brand fatigue, right? You consume from the brand enough, right? For example, there was Bombay Dine in bed sheets, right? While they continue to do great quality even now, right? I mean, there's Decor, right, which continues to be exceptional quality. You hit a certain fatigue, right, with the brand, and I think that's essentially what they highlighted, right? So I think the comment is not really on the creativity, the creative abilities that you have as a brand, right? And how you kind of uh, innovating or cultivating the talent within the organization. I think it's more about that relationship, right? There will be a newer brand. People would want to move out of your ecosystem to another ecosystem. I think that's essentially what they're kind of saying, right? But I think there is no definitive answer to that, right? So
Yeah.
in case you want to answer, I'll leave that to you.
So, see, in that case, I think our brand is very peculiar in sense. If I talk about Chumbak, or if I talk about, let's say, these are very design oriented brand. Chumbak is very poppy. Or if I talk about, let's say, the India Circus, they are very Indian traditional brand. We are Artment. We cater to each and every art form. You will never, if you get tired of minimalism, let's say, you will go ahead and buy a Bohemian piece, or you'll buy an Impressionist piece, and we keep on educating customers of a different art form. So we're not restricted by any particular art form. Bombay dyeing, let's say people why there's a fatigue because there's a distinct design language that they follow, and people identify, okay, this is a Bombay dyeing product. But with us, there will always be a diversity. With us, there will always be a new art form that we'll focus on for that year or for a collection, and you'll find something newness and freshness. That's the entire premise of a brand, that we want to bring in something new to the market and at a very fast-paced way. So to hit that fatigue, I think it will be difficult when you're getting so much content, fresh content and products from us regularly.
Super interesting. Okay, one more question and last question. That's my sense of it. I invested in the earlier round. Will this investment be done on the same valuation?
Yeah, sure. Because it has been just 2 months, and we have not raised the equity round since then. So it will be done at the same valuation. The valuation will be attached at a 20% discount of our next equity round that is expected to close by August end. And once that valuation is attached to the CSOP, then if we decide to do another round, let's say next year, then there will be a difference in valuation. But for now, because was just done in a period of 2 months, so the valuation is essentially the same.
Super. Aditya, that's the end of questions from my side. I'll request for you to come in and take it over. And any questions that people have in the audience, please.
Yeah, if anyone in the audience has any questions, please do raise your hand and we'll take them. Yeah, I think we can close the session.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. I think Aditya, a fantastic session. Like I said, thank you for doing this on a Friday evening, right? But it was absolutely spectacular. I think what you're trying to do is amazing. I think this is a space which is becoming very, very exciting. Right. The good part is, like I said, right? I mean, what really excites me about this entire possibility, right, is that world is becoming one
Hey,
large
extremely sorry to interrupt in the middle. Mehakpreet has another question.
Okay.
Will we be able to sell our Csocs during the fundraising?
Manpreet, as per the agreement, the CSOP agreement, the exit event happens. Essentially once the owner portion goes below 30%, or we decide to buy back the CSOP. So essentially, what happens in the next fundraising round, there will be value attached to your CSOP, and to exit when we decide to buy back the CSOPs from our existing CSOP holders, that would be certainly in the near future. Then you will be able to exit your CSOP holding.
Is that it? Do you have any other questions? I think we can wait for possibly 30 seconds.
Yeah, I think so.
Awesome, Aditya. I think we're done for the day. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for doing this. And like I said, exciting area, exciting space. You're doing spectacularly well. Right. I particularly like how you kind of tackling this market. Right? I think this is a market which requires that creative. That creativity has to keep flowing, right? I mean, what I particularly like, right, what stands out to me is that you're cutting on an inventory overhang, right? A lot of brands essentially get trapped in that category. Sorry, that as a very key problem. Uh, I think the way you kind of churning it out, and this entire process of market discovery, right, of the hero product, I think this just brings in a very very different kind of efficiency. Right? We wish you all the very best, Aditya. Right, and more power to you, and and hopefully you'll have many more investors to come and participate in the round. That should be.
Thank you, Ashu. Nice.
Thank you.